the Battle of Endor saw a number of significant losses that without question dealt a serious blow to the Galactic Empire. In the end, this battle between the Empire and the Rebellion would result in the destruction of the second Death Star, the death of Darth Vader, and the death of Emperor Palpatine. This of course was a monumental blow for the Empire, and in relation to these losses, the destruction of the Super Star Destroyer the Executor during the battle might appear to be insignificant when discussing the ultimate downfall of the Empire in the aftermath of the Battle of Endor. However, in today's video, we're going to look at why one Imperial officer still vividly remembered the image of the Executor's destruction 5 years after the battle, recognizing it as a crucial moment in the downfall of the Empire following Endor, this Imperial officer being Captain Pellaeon. As explained within the Legends novel Heir to the Empire, there was a clear reason why the Executor would have been instrumental to the ultimate survival of the Empire following the Battle of Endor, particularly with the loss of Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine. For Pellaeon, the loss of the ship itself was bad enough, which isn't surprising given the importance it had to the Empire, with the Star Dreadnought representing the height of Imperial capital ship power. The Essential Guide to Warfare reveals the Executor, which had a length of 19 kilometers, had more than 5,000 turbo lasers and ion cannons, 2 full wings of TIE fighters, and the potential to carry up to 200 additional gunboats and attack shuttles, a full Stormtrooper Corps, in addition to 38,000 further ground troops, 24 AT-ATs, 50 AT-STs, and 3 prefabricated garrisons. But despite all of the power and destruction the Executor could bring to its targets, there was another reason why Pellaeon saw the destruction of the Executor as significantly detrimental to the future of the Empire, allowing us to say that it was something that shattered the Galactic Empire in the aftermath of Endor. Again, the loss of the ship itself was clearly a tremendous loss, but for Pellaeon, the fact that it was specifically the Executor made its destruction even worse. This was because the Executor was Darth Vader's personal ship. This meant that even though there was the chance that an Imperial officer would have to face the lethal consequences of failure, many officers still wanted to be assigned to the Executor to work with Vader. The reason for this was simple. Being assigned to the Executor had long been seen as the quickest way to earn promotions and climb the ranks of the Empire. Therefore, the Executor attracted the best up-and-coming and mid-level officers and crew, those willing to face the wrath of Vader for the chance to achieve more frequent promotions. For this reason, the loss of the Executor meant the loss of a large portion of the best Imperial officers, those who would best help the Empire survive the loss of the second Death Star, Vader, and the Emperor. This important element that allowed Pellaeon to recognize the importance of the Executor when it came to the future of the Empire, demonstrated within Heir to the Empire, has also been established within other areas in Legends. For example, the Essential Guide to Warfare explains that following the destruction of the Death Star in the Battle of Yavin, the Empire's Super Star Destroyers emerged to take on a newfound importance to the Empire. Before Yavin, many within the Imperial Navy questioned the need for massive capital ships like the Super Star Destroyers, fearing that they could bankrupt the Empire, and only existed to assist the ambitions of the Empire's Moffs and Imperial advisors, rather than being a necessary component of a coherent military strategy. However, as the Death Star emerged to threaten the prestige of the Imperial Navy, having the potential to significantly reduce the role of the Empire's capital ships, the Imperial Navy embraced the Super Star Destroyer as a way to maintain its prestige. With the destruction of the first Death Star, this only increased as the Super Star Destroyer came to act as an important symbol of Imperial strength, particularly as the Executor became the flagship of Darth Vader, taking on the important task of locating Luke Skywalker and the Rebellion's leadership, becoming feared throughout the Outer Rim. A great example of this aspect recognized by Pellaeon is the story of Admiral Piet. In only a few short years, particularly in the years between Episode 4 and Episode 5, through the direct efforts of Darth Vader himself, Piet went from overseeing trade enforcement operations in the Outer Rim to Captain of the Accuser, a Star Destroyer within Vader's Death Squadron, to Captain of the Executor, and ultimately Admiral of the Executor, with command of Death Squadron being handed to Piet by Vader. As we can see from the Legends lore, the prestige and opportunity for promotion was clearly a benefit for Imperial officers assigned to the Executor, and as recognized by Captain Pellaeon, this resulted in a large number of the Empire's best officers being lost when the Super Star Destroyer was destroyed at Endor. Importantly for our video here, Pelion concluded within Heir to the Empire that it was the loss of these officers, including the Super Star Destroyer's leadership, that directly resulted in the Battle of Endor turning into a, quote, fiasco once the second Death Star was destroyed, demonstrating that the result of the battle was a consequence of more than the loss of the second Death Star, Vader, and the Emperor. For Pelion, the loss of the Executor, and with it the Empire's best officers, wasn't just important to the Empire's defeat at Endor and its immediate aftermath, but the direction of the Empire for the next 5 years, the reason why Pelion still winced when remembering the Executor colliding with the second Death Star, and then being completely disintegrated when the battle station exploded. As described within the Essential Guide to Warfare, which adds a lot to the lore for Captain Pelion, established in Heir to the Empire, Pelion recognized something crucial following the immediate aftermath of the Battle of Endor, which he fought in upon the Imperial Star Destroyer, the Chimera. The Rebellion had utilized a significant portion of their fleet in their attack on the second Death Star, and while they were victorious in destroying the battle station, the Rebel fleet had been heavily battered. Even more, while the Empire had sustained serious losses, with Death Squadron losing the Executor, a battle cruiser, and 15 Imperial Star Destroyers, the Empire still had a formidable force, prompting Pelion to want to return to Endor and continue the fight against what remained of the Rebellion. However, while Captain Pelion momentarily assumed command of Death Squadron during the Battle of Endor after the loss of the Executor and the Chimera's admiral, command was ultimately given to an admiral, which didn't concern Pelion as long as they eventually returned to Endor. But the officers who retreated from Endor never made that decision. In fact, the admiral who was then in command of Death Squadron was simply unable to make a decision regarding what the best course of action would be after Endor. Demonstrating the lack of leadership that existed due to the loss of the best Imperial officers through the destruction of the Executor, the officers who remained merely began fighting among themselves. Instead of creating a plan to confront the rebellion at Endor, many of the Imperial admirals and captains went their separate ways, taking the capital ships they commanded to different parts of the galaxy until a clear chain of command or orders emerged, thereby reducing Death Squadron so significantly they could only withdraw further from Endor. This missed opportunity tormented Captain Pelion in the years after Endor, and it's clear why the loss of the Executor pained him so much and was viewed so significantly. The Battle of Endor resulted in the loss of the second Death Star, Vader, and the Emperor. And yet, Pelion was still confident the Empire could destroy what remained of the rebellion, emerging victorious in the end. Instead, this hope was destroyed through the destruction of the Executor, and with it, the Empire's best officers, crew, and leadership. Without this important element, the officers who remained after Endor failed to make use of the opportunity they had to confront the rebellion, an opportunity that was ultimately missed in the end, something the Empire was never able to recover from. In this way, it was the destruction of the Super Star Destroyer the Executor that shattered the Empire, turning the dire circumstances resulting from the Battle of Endor into one the Empire would not recover from, tormenting Pelion even 5 years after the battle. So there we have it, the importance of the destruction of the Executor in the Battle of Endor as seen by Captain Pelion. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions. Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. If not for me... For Captain Pelion.